Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Let's talk about Avaneidi, a cybersecurity startup specializing in security enterprise storage systems, announced an 8 million Series A funding round from United Ventures. So let's stop for a second here. I think it's a very interesting fundraise because it touches one of the topics that is not yet widely explored, I would say, which is everything that is happening around AI infrastructure in general. And this kind of touches this fundraise in a very specific way because basically the company Avaneidi, they are focusing on cybersecurity, but on the same level, they're also trying to build a specific hardware which basically blends a specific application for cybersecurity and AI in order to get like custom-made solutions. So maybe let's talk first about the deal, and then let's talk about the AI infrastructure. So cybersecurity, of course, is probably one of the great vertical affected by AI in many different ways. This company was really successful in sort of building a very customized approach, and they're like basically this fundraise is going to essentially help them build the next generation of this approach through the investment in hardware and software in particular. So very interesting investment, I would say, and very in line with everything that is happening on the market. What is your first impression of this?
Of course, I always like these deals. I have to say it is not a usual type of investment in the Italian startups. It is first of all an infrastructure level investment. And I was rereading the article right now, and the first company that came to mind to me as I was reading about Avaneidi was Apple. And you could wonder why Apple, because from the article, what they are doing is basically integrating the hardware level design, infrastructure level design, and the software design. So they are pulling together the entire stack, starting from the hardware, with the goal to create an extremely controlled, secure, and manageable offering in the enterprise storage sector. Probably I wrongfully classified the startup as a cybersecurity startup. It's a bit, it's part of the offering. In the article, they stress the focus on AI and the need that AI has to have access to reliable data storage. They also have this cybersecurity angle, and of course the data storage angle. So very interesting. So I really like the approach, and I have to say I didn't report about these articles in the newsletter, but there have been a few news going around in the latest weeks around data center companies intending to double down in new data centers. And you need to fill data centers with hardware and software. And if you take a look from that angle and read articles that say, hey, this company is aiming to invest 4 billion in data centers in Italy in the next 5 years. And you connect the dots, and you see that Avaneidi is well positioned to be a strong supplier of solution for these data centers. So
nice. Totally, and definitely interesting. I think there is like a few people talking about AI infrastructure, the need of energy, the need of new hardware, and everything that basically will rotate around the AI adoption, the massive AI adoption that will happen in the next years. So I think there are a few trends which are really spot on and some other that are less spot on. So infrastructure in general, just to give you some data, I was checking, it has like a massive growth rate of 50% year over year. And I think they're going to reach around like 195 billion in value in 2027 by 2027 in just AI infrastructure in general. So that encompasses a lot of things. So definitely a massive wave happening. And what I think is very spot on is definitely anything that is happening like on the cloud perspective, as you mentioned. So cloud-based AI, which actually ties into AI as a service. So a lot of models, they run in the cloud, and the application are kind of basically run over there. So definitely the cloud space is going to get like particularly hot, I would say. Another element is the difference between cloud and edge AI. So the edge AI, basically what is referred as essentially certain models have local application that run locally. So that's another like theme that is probably going to see. And I think we started seeing a little bit like this year. So edge AI is definitely something to keep an eye on. And there are also some hybrid applications. This is interesting. Like maybe in the future, some part of the model will run on the cloud, part of the model will run locally. So probably that's the most likely solution. And of course, the idea of building AI chips. So again, chips making is changing because of AI, because of the GPU and the graphic processing units, and the TPUs, the tensor processing unit, basically essentially being much more efficient in processing like a language model. So that's a super interesting and a huge wave.
Yeah.
What I think it's not going to be. Yeah, sorry. What I think is going to be probably like still uncertain is actually, since people are working on efficiency and efficient energy consumption, I'm not sure whether the pace of energy saving in building efficient chips and efficient hardware will sort of grow in a way that we will need more energy to run these kind of chips. You know what I mean? It's just there because there is a strive for efficiency, but we will need more energy, but not necessarily because chips will be more efficient. And so this is this little battle here. So a few things there on the table for sure.
Yeah, well, I think that there's the law of demand and supply on this side. So the more you invest in energy hungry infrastructure, the more it will cost you, and the more you will say, "Hey, wait a moment, let's
Good
stop
point.
right there." Even though I have, we could sit here and talk about this for hours. I got another point to add to the mix. The value proposition to stay on Avaneidi, the value proposition of having the possibility of building or extending your own data center with respect to AI and with respect in particular to data. This in Europe might be a very important value proposition for European companies. So let me remind you that the other day, Apple said, we don't know whether we are deploying Apple Intelligence in Europe because of the regulation. Because Apple Intelligence has that possibility to offload computation on AI in Apple managed servers. And even if they are state of the art in terms of cybersecurity, Apple is not feeling confident about deploying that technology in Europe. And that makes me think that if you're a company in Europe that are serious about deploying LLM-based, generative AI-based solutions or adopting the technology, the moment the technology touches your data, you will think twice about how you want to manage that data and the connection to the AI realm. And that opens a huge question mark on whether pure cloud-based solutions will be the main choice or the most important choice by far in enterprise sector in Europe. I don't know at this point, and maybe there's possibility to deploy your own hardware dedicated to data, to AI, to handle your own infrastructure will be a winning proposition, at least in Europe. I don't know, but the wind blows in that direction.
No, totally. And we'll see. I mean, there are different angles, and it's really tough to actually see. I mean, there are like a few like clear direction and some other less clear direction where AI is going to affect basically the rest of the software and hardware infrastructure world. So I think that's particularly interesting. But yeah, I agree with you. And things are not slowing down. That's for sure. And both pervasiveness of AI, like big firms including and incorporating AI, that's not stopping. It can only get worse probably. So that's which is good. For some people it's good, some people it's bad. We'll see how it goes. All right. So let's talk about Exor Ventures. All right. So let's talk about Exor Venture co-leading an 8 million Series A round in UK-based Sava. So Sava is basically working on continuous glucose monitoring in GCMs, which are small devices that are attached to user arms to measure blood sugar levels. So this is interesting as a trend that has been like present in a lot of different ecosystem. Many people have been like trying to develop this kind of product. This round is particularly relevant because, well, of course, this is like, well, Exor participated. The company is based in London, but the founder is Italian. So this is a very good example of an Italian talent kind of finding a very fertile ground to develop some very solid and state-of-the-art healthcare startup. So definitely kudos to them.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we have some other investors from Italy, at least originally, participating in the round. Exceptional Ventures, I think, for example, and a few others. So this is almost a Italy-based round, but all happening outside of Italy. I mean,
Exactly.
sorry about that. That's it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Actually, maybe the question there is whether a company like Sava could be developed in Italy, given I don't know anything about like regulation regarding like testing medical device between Italy and the UK. So I have no idea, but yeah, maybe some ecosystems for certain hardware product are probably quicker or more efficient than others. So kind of makes sense when it comes to purely product perspective. So I don't know. Maybe that's one of the small reasons. But again, this is like from someone that doesn't know anything about the.
I don't know. I mean, again, this is my grade of knowledge in the medical devices market is the same as a person entering into a bar and discussing about whatever. So very low. But we do have an history of companies manufacturing, building, selling, and deploying medical devices. And I think the regulation is pretty much homogeneous across Europe, at least. So I don't know whether that's one of the main reasons. For sure, there's probably in this specific case, there's converging patterns that brought an Italian founder to be in London, having this idea and launching this product while living in the UK. So I don't know. I can't generalize the answer, but
Interesting.
I wouldn't think that in this case regulation is the main obstacle, but here I stop.
Excellent. Let's go back to Italy. Talking about the latest article from Startup Italia and BBiz. Basically, kind of a little bit lamenting how investment have halved in the first quarter of 2024 compared to the first half of 2023. For the listener, if you guys check Nicolo's graph and basically dashboard, you can see how everything kind of flattened out in the past months, unfortunately. So yeah, there are a few considerations to be made, and I think Nick, you also were mentioning how actually the second quarter sometime can still provide some interesting, potential like upside to the cycle and the fundraise. So not all is lost. It's going to be tough probably to get to last year numbers overall. Not impossible, but as you mentioned, we need like bigger round for sure. At this point, only bigger round, Series B plus. I would say, and yeah. So is it like this is like an endemic slowing down? Is it just follows the market? A lot of activity from starting from VC to M&A actually has been like slowing, and basically in the first half of this year. So a lot of things have happened, and Italy is probably a victim of the global situation as well. So not immune to that. What is your interpretation?
Well, so it is true. What is true? That the second quarter of this year is probably the worst since 2022 at least. So the worst in the last 10 in terms of amount of capital raised. It is true that at least the way I account for the capital raised, um, if we include bending spoons and MMI, we are going okay. If we exclude them, we're going badly, very badly with respect to last year. Why excluding them? Because bending spoon raise basically private equity capital. MMI is a American company, even though we have a huge presence in Italy. Probably most of the companies based out of Italy. So if you take the purist approach, you're not doing great. In general, what we see is that our numbers are so low that we are extremely sensitive to one big round. So if you have a 50 million round, you're talking about, hey, we're doing great. If you don't have a 50 million round, you hear saying, hey, we're doing well. And that means that our numbers are low. We still have too few Series B plus, as you said. So there is a lot of variance just because just one round in this quarter and the next quarter will completely change the numbers. As I mentioned in the newsletter, last year, most of the bigger rounds were announced in the second half of the year. And we are still not accounting for the round announced by iGenius, which we don't know when it will close, but at least a portion of it was actually announced. So let's wait for the final numbers. Hopefully this year
which is going to be massive. It's idefinitely going to be massive. A genius, yeah.
That would change
one
everything.
Thing is, yeah. The other thing is, one might think that all the undisclosed around might actually make a difference. My sensation in that is that, well, I don't know if in aggregate, undisclosed kind of feels like they're tiny rounds when it's undisclosed in a certain way, to me at least. So this is a purely personal feeling. So I don't know whether an aggregate of all the undisclosed round happening in Italy would actually make a huge difference. No idea about that. My intuition is that not really, but again, personal intuition based on sensations. Yeah. I don't know what's your feeling.
That's a good point. Even though there are quite a few of undisclosed rounds, we can expect they're mostly in the seed stage.
Exactly.
Even though I am aware of a few rounds that are not being announced, not Series Bs, but there will be just a delay with respect to the actual raise and the moment it will be announced. So there is some lag, some backlog of deals that happen and are still not on the public radar. Still not big rounds that I am aware of, unfortunately. But so not great. That's for sure.
Not great.
Not great.
So let's talk about the positive points. So despite the small, the slowing down of all the rounds, some people are saying that, okay, the new VC firm started, not too many this year, which is good news. Microfund, a few microfunds have been launched, which is excellent news. Single GP or like the 2 GP, like sort of 15 to 20 million range funds have been launched, which is great news. Absolutely. That means a lot, I think, to the ecosystem. And then angels also are, getting more and more sophisticated. So I think it's worth mentioning the latest post of Simone Cimminelli, one of the probably most active angel investor in Italy. We both know him, and he has like a very sharp opinion on a lot of like issues. And he, in his latest post, he's basically disclosed his own like numbers when it comes to angel investment. So both when it comes to what he has invested, investment rationale, very, very insightful. And I think it's probably one of the first, or if not the first, Italian angel investor making such a big disclosure on the angel side. So with a lot of numbers and even return calculation, of course, he makes his own correct assumptions. We can discuss about it, of course, but the good thing is that at least we see like a very professional and disciplined approach to investing, or at least a beginning of a disciplined approach. And that's great because new angels coming into the market and maybe thinking of angel investing, they can actually see like some insight from this kind of data. And I think is definitely like something massive for the angel community.
Yeah, yeah, it's a nice addition to a lot of posts or storytelling around how it is better to approach angel investments. And you can find online also Italian angels that in the past, or Italian investors that in the past published guides about how to approach angel investing. But often these guides were with included made up numbers. So if you invest in 10 in average in the startups or with an average ticket, you can expect, and so blah 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 blah. So it's a very nice addition to see the actual numbers from angel investing, and see and understanding how it is difficult financially, emotionally, um, economically to be a good angel investor. So really appreciate the Simone's approach to being public in what he's doing. So very nice, public and vocal because he is very opinionated.
Yes, 100%.
Yes, I guess so.
We need more people. We need more people like you for sure.
Yeah. Agree.
All right, Nick. Thank you so much. This concludes this week's episode. So thank you for the listener for joining. And remember to subscribe to our channel and to Niccolò newsletter. And see you next week.
Ciao, Jack. Ciao, everybody. See you in a week.